Data log of Salian contact. 2667 War Chief General. Tilak, mumbled the battle unfolded on a screen at the front of the bridge. Something the matter, Chief General, a bridge crewman asked. I find our campaign too easy. I expected more resistance. The video we had of their navy exhumed might not. Whatever this is, he said with a raised tone. The fighters at the front line re-engaged the ragtag team of enemy fighters and met a force of least resistance. Those sentries are doing work on our fighters. Order the fighters to disengage and have the corvettes prepare a final volley against the station, ordered Tilak. Yes, General, complied a lowly helmsman. The corvettes positioned themselves to not fire on one another and sent one final volley of cannons. The shells themselves were small and so was the yield, but focused fire proved effective, even more so against a vulnerable orbital station. The station exploded spectacularly, throwing debris in all directions. Some even smashed directly into his ships. Make sure all fighters are clear. We can't lose them to pieces of the station, he analyzed. The battlefield and noticed a standstill with a collection of enemy forces. What of these forces here? He motioned to an analyst that was scanning the opposite side of the hollow display. It says here there's only around 50 enemy ships here and are holding back our forces. I understand your concern, he started. We did some focus scans and most of them are boasting what looks to be new models of ships that previously perished. They're not going down as easy. Talak looked in dismay. What of the ship with the larger signature? Looks to me that it's keeping most of the ships at bay. He pointed to the larger icon and a visual was brought up upon request. It was a large ship relative to the others surrounding it. It was long that came to a tapered point. The dorsal portion of the ship had a series of guns on the left and right, with a dual set of single-barrel cannons that lined to spine. Some of the enemy fighters baited some of his own, and when they came into range were promptly decimated with well-placed shots. Tilak's body alarms rang and ordered several corvettes and his fighters to swarm the group. The closer they approached, his fighters would be picked off, and some larger fighters would be swarmed and summarily executed. He felt some pride in their drive to survive and ordered their execution. 4 corvettes made their way to the enemy's location and awaited their report. He returned to the hollow display and on it showed his forces evenly split. He initially arrived with 4 carriers, 5 cruisers, and 15 frigates with a mix of small, medium, and light. In addition, he sported around 20 corvettes. The rest were fighters that each found a home with their ships. Most were stationed on the carriers and cruisers, and some were placed on frigates, and the rest escorted the frigates. As soon as they entered the system, he made it essential that they jammed all signals for inter-system communication. Got to hand it to the science depot for the jammer. It's working wonders, Tilak commented, to which Creo agreed. We figured it would do well against the Union, but it needed some field tests. We were about to use it in the Halen system, but then the War Council commenced this invasion, he said without lifting his head from a data pad. My statement still stands, he replied before he received a report from the field strategist. Chief General, he said, we finally have reports from the other assault groups. The ships from the mining planet suffered minor losses, and the group that made its way to the gas giant is meeting resistance. What do they report? He commanded. Surface defenses. We've already lost multiple corvettes and frigates, the field strategist reported. He expected total annihilation for the enemy, but this colony was fighting fiercely. We weren't given an exact number, but the fact that they reported losses instead of conquest was cause for concern. Sir, the enemy is moving, a shout came from the previous field strategist. They headed planetside, perhaps they plan to evacuate the noncombatants. He studied the view before him. Issue orders to Chief Commander and have him and his soldiers descend onto the planet, taking a company of corvettes and frigates to assist. Chief, with only his fleet of 150, he responded. Should we not just bombard the surface and risk what knowledge they have? No, he ordered. Prepare support for a ground invasion of Brunk forces. Yes, Chief, said the strategist as he began issuing orders to the multitude of ships as his fleet began towards the planet. Reports born of chaos flooded his bridge. Many ships made it to the surface following after the insignificant fleet that fought them earlier, but a new case of chaos flooded the ship. Chief General, a visual came online that took a spot on the forward-facing viewport. It was Bralo. What's wrong? We're getting reports of mass casualties, Tilak commanded a response. Did you not properly survey the planet? He snarled. We did proper scans of your landing zones. There was no evidence of there being defenses, he pointed to a scanner. Yes, sir, the planet showed no signs of armed defenses. We thought it safe for landing, he cowered behind the chief general. You thought wrong, brah, retorted Tilak. What happened? Beckoned Tilak. The planet is swarming with an increased force of fighters not seen planetside, not to mention that nearly all of my accompanied fighters were assaulted and now lay with the dirt or in the waters. Tilak thought for a moment. This is fine, he garnered surprise from both the scanner and Bra. They have no way to call for reinforcements, he began. But sir, the data, started the scanner but was promptly hushed by Tilak. Tilak continued, they have no reinforcements so we have that covered. Just focus on striking at their military installations and city centers. We have slaver ships inbound to this system. Yes, General, he replied, and the call was cut. The scanner resurfaced his earlier comment. But sir, what about that data ship? Surely they've made their way to the edge of the system for a jump. Don't worry, I've sent a ship ahead to intercept them in the next system. With what orders? He asked. To capture. The reports of losses slowed, and with a view on his holo display showed that both forces were at a standstill. While he could very well just bombard the planet from orbit, he decided against it. He found that information on the enemy would greatly give an insight into their greater community. While awaiting on the bridge, Tilak received a call from one of the forces below. It was Dagon. Chief General, he said, my fleet is ready for a second assault on the planet. We await your orders. When the combat stalled, he ordered all available forces to pull back and maintain vigilance around their impromptu field base. The ground team suffered severe losses, and without guaranteed air support, they couldn't support the request for targeted strikes. The enemy was recovering, and Tilak didn't like where that would lead. Hold fast, young captain, he ordered. Regroup with the nearest group and await my orders. Dagon nodded and cut off the call. Tilak knew he was eager to prove himself, but he couldn't allow that, not when they knew so little about the enemy. Have you calculated the populace of the planet? Tilak inquired. The scanner manipulated his station a moment before answering. From some of the data recovered by ground teams, approximately 10 million, it seems like a relatively lightly populated colony. Most seem to have been taken to bunkers. Can you find them? Tilak probed, to which the scanner shook his head in the negative. There's strong interference from the city centers, so it is difficult to tell. We will focus on that at another time, he said before returning to the holo display that revealed the planets and his collective forces. Tilak studied the information and scanned the field once more when was notified of a likely target by his strategist. How about here, General? He showed an isolated compound away from the city's defenses. From what we've learned from the rest of the planet's defenses, this compound is lightly defended, and scans indicate it is lightly populated. Forward scouts believe it to be an intelligence base. Tilak was pleased, then we'll strike there, good work. The scanner bowed and returned to his station. He then turned to the strategist and issued his new commands. Contact Del Lone and the rest of the fleet planetside to attack these targets. He pointed at several large city centers that boasted many of the defenses that took down the first wave. This time, keep them out of effective range and just maintain on drawing their fire, he ordered. Contact Bra and notify him of our target. Yes, General, responded the strategist.